Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Bad5 again. As I said in the video before this, I don't have a time limit anymore, so yeah, I want to get back onto some of the suggested videos, and like all the other suggested videos, you're gonna get a shout out. I'm gonna subscribe to you, but this person I don't think needs a shout out. He's a great guy. He's subscribed to a lot of people. He's very friendly. I think all of us are subscribed to him. If you're an atheist, that is, or even if you're not an atheist, a lot of people still like the guy. Gothatfunk. Now, I've been talking to Gothatfunk, for a long time. I consider him a good friend. He watches my videos. I watch his videos. His videos are awesome. So if you haven't heard of him or you haven't really checked him out, check him out. Like I said, he is a good friend of mine on here. So anyhow, his suggestion was like a music biography. Now I'm going to do two parts to this. And that's not because of time. It's just because they're kind of two separate subjects in a way. I mean, of course they're going to bleed together, but I want to kind of cover two separate things. So hopefully this doesn't go that long, but I am going to go into detail. And also, I'm going to put pictures of, when I was in the band and all this. And I tried to do it before, like my different hairstyles, but this time I'm going to do it. I'm going to stop being fucking lazy. So anyhow, early in my life, I always wanted to play music. And I, like me and my cousin, we would, put boxes together. I think a lot of kids did this. I mean, I guarantee you I'm not the only one. And I had a good idea to make a snare drum. I took like a round can that some cookies came in, put like some nails and shit at the bottom, like some screws and bolts. And I would hit that and it sounded kind of like a snare. And I thought that was fucking great, especially on the nights like when my dad, was working at his second job, because we could just make all this fucking noise. And we started out like that, or we had something that maybe some of you guys will remember if you're around my age. It was called, what was that thing called? I think it was Art Blaster. Yeah, it was basically like a miniature airbrush kit. And, there'd be like different things, like it came with all the different colors. Well, it was like with markers, and you can spray the marker paint on there and make airbrush pictures. And the bottom was hollow. So we'd put like different kinds of rubber bands and like make it like a guitar and like, oh, we could play this. And so, I mean, I was really into music. Now for my 10th birthday at Toys R Us, the one I actually later worked at, which sucks because it closed, but we went there and they had a guitar, and it was like a black guitar, which I still have to this day. I'm going to try to customize it and make it into a good instrument, because it's actually a really small guitar, but it feels good still. But it was like, it was all black, which I liked. Built-in amplifier, had a whammy bar, and I thought that was a shit whammy bar, man. I had no idea how to tune the fucking thing. Had no idea how to play it. But I had a blast with that thing. And, I would just try to figure out songs. And then, about a year or two later, I got a small classical, which I still have to this day. Again, and I actually play this one a little bit more, but I finally learned how to tune a guitar. And that was awesome for me, because, I could actually try to play the songs I heard. Well, it was my freshman year of high school. For Christmas, my dad asked me what I wanted. And I wanted, a good guitar. Even though it's not really good, I still have it. In fact, in like my 50 items tag video, I show it. It's the Strat that's white and has the Japanese flag on the pickguard. Actually, the body of that and a few of the hardware pieces are from it wasn't a Fender. That's not a Fender. I just bought a Fender decal and put it on a Squire neck and threw it on the guitar, because I was kind of embarrassed. It was a company called Silvertone. If you know anything about instruments, yeah. Especially when you're, how old was I? That was 99, so I was like 14. And I mean, it was still cool though. I mean, it came with an amp, had a tuner, a video, like, was, showing some chords, had picks, and I was really excited about playing this. But I also got a keyboard for Christmas. And I was really excited about that because I got really into Gary Newman, and I love keyboard music. As it is. I mean, I fucking love it. I just think, especially Gary Newman shit. I fucking love Gary Newman. I have more Gary Newman CDs than any other fucking band. A close second is probably Iron Maiden. But anyhow, so I was learning how to play keyboards, mostly keyboards, more than the guitar. But I had met a guy named Charles. Now, Charles was into the same kind of music as I was, and he got me into a couple bands. I got him into a couple bands, and we, said, we want to start a band. Of course. I mean, we're fucking kids. He was 15, I was 14, so it was, I think I was about to be 15, he was about to be 16, but anyhow. So, we had some friends that wanted to form a band as well, and one of these guys, his name was AJ, and he said he played bass, even though it pissed me off because he didn't own a bass. Charles had a bass and an amp, which didn't really work. But hey, you know, it's like we're still starting out. We had shitty equipment, like a microphone with one guitar amp, a keyboard and a guitar, and a bass, not even at this time, and then a bass amp that barely worked. But we had met a few guys who were in a band, and they wanted us to join. It was like a metal band. We couldn't really come up with a name for the band. But so it was me, Charles, a guy named Ryan who played bass, but he was more like a Doors hippie type, so he wasn't really, you know, didn't really work with us. A guy named Steve Drake, who he's dead now, which sucks. He was actually a really good guy, huge guy, fucking mullet, one of the few people that actually had a mullet, and was like proud of that shit. And a guy named Lane who played drums. Steve had probably the best equipment of all of us. I mean, he had like a nice half stack, you know, multiple guitars. He knew how to play. He wasn't great, but he was good. I'll say that. I mean, but he was only probably 16 or 17 at the time, so he was getting better. And he was actually the first guy to give me like a real guitar lesson because he actually knew some shit. And we just called the band Ivix. And Steve, he actually came up with that name, Ivix. It's IVX. And we're like, why that? He was like, well, because if someone asks what it means, we could just say, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like the song NIB by Black Sabbath. Some people say it stands for Nativity in Black, when it actually didn't. They had a friend named Nib, and they just put the periods in there to, I guess, make it more mysterious. I don't fucking know. But, and then Steve had an old-ass Ouija board, and like, they were like trying to figure out what the fucking band's gonna be called, and supposedly Ivix came up. And that lasted for about a month. It really didn't last all that long, because, you know, we were just, I think we were trying to play different styles of music. Like, my keyboard, I play keyboards, and it didn't really fit with the band. It was more just like a straight-up metal band, and we really didn't need keyboards in this. So anyhow, me, Charles, and we got Lane, we decided we were going to form our own band. Now, Lane had actually a full drum set. It was a shitty drum set, and I remember he had, like, cymbals that were, like, it was like a dolly with a piece of all thread welded to it, and then you just like put some nuts on it to hold the cymbal. Like his cymbals, a lot of them were cracked, and an easy way to fix a crack is to either cut it out, which makes it sound like shit, or you can drill the very end of the crack and it'll stop it. But you know, I mean, then again, I mean, fuck it. At the time, you know, it was fun. It worked, and we actually played in Lane's barn. I mean, it was a fucked up mess. I mean, it was just, it was hot. It was fucking dirty. But it was a place to play. But me, Charles, Lane, and then we got a guy named Kevin to play guitar, and AJ, you know, there's finally a bass in the equation. We finally decided, you know, we're going to form a band. And we kind of thrown around some ideas. Like, we had, like, satanic names. And mine, I picked originally Abaddon, you know, hence why I use it for this channel name. But then, and then Charles, he went by Beelzebub. And then some of the other guys, they were trying to come up with names as we went. And I had the idea, why don't we pick last names? So I had Abaddon, Asmodeus. They're both Hebrew names. My real name's David, Hebrew name. I'm not Jewish, but yeah, I mean, it's a Hebrew name, so I said, fuck it, that'd be cool. That sounds good. And we threw around band names. Like Charles, he seemed to be like, you know, he wanted to be the front man, even though he was scared to sing, which I don't know why. He kind of sounds like a young Dave Mustaine. But, you know, he was scared to sing. I don't know why, but he wouldn't do it. And I was getting a little pissed off, and he like went to name the band like Beelzebub Coyote, that was his band name, and I'm like, no, not one person is going to get all the fucking credit. We're a band, you know, we should all get the fucking credit. You know, none of this Marilyn Manson shit. He loved Marilyn Manson, and I think he was trying to go for that. So I saw on the internet a name, Everlasting Godstopper, and that was actually the name of a Marilyn Manson demo tape. And I don't think he came up with that name. I think it was just a fan. And I just thought it was a cool name, Everlasting Godstopper. Whoa, that's cool. We all agreed on it. And we just thought it was a cool name. But eventually I had a falling out with Charles and AJ because they didn't want to practice. They went to fuck around. They weren't getting better. And I just said, fuck it. And by this time I was getting into punk. And I'm not talking fucking Blink-182 shit here. I'm talking real fucking punk. You know, the Sex Pistols, they were my absolute favorite. In fact, they're still one of my favorite bands. The Ramones, the Clash, the Dead Boys, they're another favorite of mine. I love the Dead Boys. Various bands like this. And then, there was like the local resident punk of the high school. His name's Aaron. And, like, he had green hair and, like, he would, like, spike it and, he was like the guy who was into punk. He wore the same Ramones shirt every fucking day. That was his band. The Ramones, that was his fucking band. And me and him, we had talked a few times. Like, at first I said the Ramones suck, the Sex Pistols are better. But eventually, we got to the point where we were actually becoming friends. And I told him one day, I'm like, and I would do this for like fucking days at a time, like 2 or 3 weeks. We're starting a band. At first he's like, what kind of fucking band are you talking about? Punk, motherfucker. And he's like, oh, okay, I thought you'd want to start like a metal band. I'm like, no, punk. Let's start punk. You like punk. I'm getting into punk. Let's play some fucking punk. And like I said, this continued for like 2-3 weeks. And eventually one day he came up to me and he said, we're starting a band. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. What do you play? What do you need? We don't have a drummer. I've got drums. Can you play them? Yeah. Good enough. So, we had our first band practice. It was me, Aaron, a guy named Tony on bass, and then a guy named... Aaron was supposed to be the singer, by the way. Tony on bass, and then Joe on guitar. And we started playing, and like, it totally... The first band practice was fucking hell. I mean, I bring my shit over, and the guy Joe, who was going to be... He eventually became the singer, but he played guitar, and he wrote this song, and I'm not fucking making this up. He wrote a song called Buttered Toast. And the song is about the apocalypse is going on outside, and a guy is just sitting there jerking off. And I'm like, what? And he was like, yeah, I just thought it was funny and shit. And it's like, and after a couple practices, I'm just like, what the fuck did I get myself into? I mean, for real, what did I fucking get myself into? Well, we started having more practices, and Joe explained, he was like, I thought you guys wanted to be like oi punk, which, is funny kind of shit. And we're like, no, we want to be like real punk. And so he wrote a few other songs. And he wrote a song, the first song that we had like really written together. We started playing Anarchy in the UK at first, to just, try to get in fucking sync with each other. And he wrote a song called 30%. And it's about a girl being raped at a party. Fucked up, but in the song, the title came from like 30% of girls at parties who get like drunk and pass out get raped. And we started playing this. Well, Tony more and more stopped, coming to practice, because he had to work or he had to, fucking do this. And he was actually weird. He had a mohawk, which I'll give him that. He had the balls to, have the mohawk and do the spikes, which very few people back then did it. And it became more popular later. But he had like a leather jacket. And he was like the only one of us that had a job. And he would like get the fucking thing cleaned. We're like, why are you going to get that thing cleaned? Well, it's getting dirty. So you're a fucking punk, motherfucker. Who cares? It's fucking dirt. But, so he didn't show up for practice one day, and we needed bass. So Aaron, we practiced at Joe's house, and Joe's neighbors, it was a couple lesbians, and they had a bass and an amp. Like, well, you can borrow it. We said, okay. Well, Aaron started playing bass, and at first he seemed okay. And, well, at first he seemed okay. But anyhow, Tony was just out of the band. Because he wasn't showing up. I don't think he really fit. It was like everything we fucking did. He'd be like, why don't we do this? Why don't we cover this song? Why? What's what punks do? I thought punk was a kind of fucking do-it-yourself thing. You're into the shit you like because you like it. You don't listen to everyone else. And so he was out. So, we're kind of scrambling to, figure out what we're going to do. I was still on drums. Joe started singing. Because I was the better singer of the three, but I couldn't play drums and sing at the same time. So Joe took over, and he was writing the songs anyhow. And eventually, we all started wearing the same kind of shoes. Aaron had a pair of low-top blue Chuck Taylors. I had a pair of black ones because they're great to play drums in. And actually, I showed him in a video, those black ones, which I still have. And I had a pair of red ones that didn't fit me. I don't know why I bought them. They're like size 12. I wear like a size 9.5. And Joe, he wanted a pair. And I said, okay, well, I'll give you these for $20. They were barely used. And he said, okay, well, there was a guy who, he was either the manager, I think I explained this in a video. He was either the manager or the owner of a local music store called Magnolia Thunderpussy. And it was a great record store. It was like one of those old-fashioned ones, where you find rare records, and I'm talking record albums, fucking LPs, or rare CDs. They had, the different colors of hair dye. You could buy buttons and stickers and all that shit. And we really wanted him to manage us. Well, he never did it, but we called ourselves the Chucks. So, to kind of be like, oh, look, we're basically sucking your dick here. Why don't you manage us? He didn't do it. But we all wore Chucks, so it kind of fit. Well, I cut my hair because I had long hair up until this time. And actually, my hair used to be longer than this back then. But I cut it short, which I gotta say, one little side note about that. First day I took a shower after I'd cut all my hair off. I was so used to reaching back here and grabbing it, and I reached back there, there's nothing there. I was just kind of like, damn, my fucking hair's gone. I mean, I had it for fucking years, and so that sucked, and that's one of the reasons I started growing it out again. But we were actually making a name for ourselves. Like we started playing shows, and we actually got pretty popular with like some of the more like veteran punks in the area, and they were like, well, you guys are kids, and you're the real thing. You're playing fucking punk. You're not trying to play what everyone else is playing. You play your own shit, and plus we were loud. There's a place we played at all the time. Apparently one time they had cranked the volume up for us so fucking loud that an ATM that was connected to the building was actually shaking, and people had to leave because it was so fucking loud. But that was good for a while. At first, me and Joe were really close friends. It was Tony and Aaron that were really good friends. And Joe just started getting on my fucking nerves. Every fucking one was his hero. It started out with Dexter Holland from fucking The Offspring. Then it went to fucking Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. Then it went to this fucking person and that fucking person. Eventually, he started getting into the White Stripes. And we were not down with that. Well, me and Aaron, we were good friends. I was spending the night all the time at his house. And, we'd practice pretty much 6 days a week. So I got really thin. Plus, we were walking. None of us drove except for Joe. And most of the time, he was hanging out with his fucking girlfriend, so we couldn't have him drive us anywhere. But I got down to like 120 fucking pounds. But and then playing drums, that helps. But Aaron decided he was going to leave the band. This just was not what he wanted to do. And Joe, he wanted to do like a White Stripes style band. And he wanted me, and I just wanted to play fucking music. That's all it was. I wanted to play music. He wanted a drummer. I wanted to play. He eventually wanted to phase me out to play guitar, but it just didn't work. The practice, it didn't fucking work, because Joe, every fucking time, every fucking practice, another fucking song he wants to cover. Oh, I want to cover this song. This is a keyboard-based song. We don't have keyboard. I know, but we can like turn it. I don't want to fucking do that song. That song sucks, but we can make it like punk. For fuck's sake. Well, one good thing that came out from that was Aaron knew a girl named Amanda. Now, Amanda, he told me about her. I wanted to meet her. And we met. And a few days after we met, because we were actually playing a punk festival called Punk Fest. It was up in Newark, Ohio. Like a day or two after we got back from Punk Fest, I went to go meet Amanda again. And since that day, we have been together, in a relationship. We're married now. So that was a good thing. And I wouldn't take back anything, because of that. But eventually I started hanging out. I just called up Charles. And this is when Marilyn Manson's album, Golden Age of Grotesque, came out. And I kind of liked it. And I called him up. Like, I want to bury the hatchet with this guy. I know we got into fights and shit. And, we didn't like each other. But, I was like, oh, have you heard that? He's like, yeah, it kind of sucked. That's not my style. I'm like, oh, okay. And called him the next night. Talking again. He was like, you want to come over to my house? It's my dad's house, and he's not living here anymore. It's my place now. I'm like, yeah. And, we got alone. We were sitting there talking to each other, and we really just, said, man, I'm sorry for, what we did. I mean, the falling out was over girls, of course. We're fucking teenagers. And by this time, we're adults. We're 18 and shit. And, they were trying to kick out the drummer, Lane, because he was still there. And actually, Kevin came back from quitting playing guitar, and he came back as the keyboardist, and he actually had a good synthesizer. AJ was on bass, but he had his own shit. This guy named Brian played guitar, and Brian's actually really cool, and he's still a good friend of mine. And then Charles was singing. He actually sung this time, but they wanted to kick Lane out because his timing was off. If he fucked up, he would have to play, and then have to jump back in instead of covering up his mistakes, and that was really pissing them off. And he was kind of weird, because he had this weird medical condition that he couldn't eat too much fucking meat. He pretty much had to be a vegetarian, and I guess the proteins get stuck in his brain. I don't fucking know the exact details of this, but he was eating a ton of meat, and so he was acting fucking weird. I mean, he would sit there on the couch like just staring at his fucking hands in like in amazement, and we're like, what the fuck is he doing? He's like fucking monging out over there. So anyhow, it didn't really work. I wasn't that style of drummer. Lane was better than me, and that's a fucking fact. His timing was a lot better than mine. But I was used to playing punk, which we didn't give a shit. But he eventually quit, or he was kicked out, depending on who you ask. And then AJ left too, and so that sucked. We lost 2 members, and AJ decided he was going to start another band with Lane and some other people. And at first I was going to come in, I was going to play rhythm guitar. And like they gave me a tape of just all their fucking music. And that was really cool, like, because it's like, wow, these guys are actually recording some shit. And I learned how to play the shit, like, within a week. Like, we'll give you a week, learn as much as you can. If you don't learn everything, that's fine. I had about 98% of the songs, perfect. And they're, like, amazed, like, wow, how did you do that? I don't know, I just listened to it, practiced along with it. Well, Kevin left, so we didn't have a keyboardist. AJ was gone, so it was down to me, Brian, and Charles. Well, we needed bass more than we needed a fucking rhythm guitarist or a keyboardist. We had a drum machine. And eventually it went through some other line changes, like I went back to playing drums because I started buying more drum shit. Then they got Lane back, so I went to rhythm guitar because AJ came back too. I've pretty much been in every fucking position in that band. Just about every instrument. I didn't play lead guitar, and I've never been the lead singer. But other than that, But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my musical history when it comes to bands. Not that many bands. Especially lately, I just don't think I have the time for it anymore. Especially with the hours I work. I work nights. And it seems like most people don't have the space to play, especially if you have a full band. But anyhow, I'm going to do another part to this where I'm just talking about my favorite bands and what got me into music in the first place. And yeah, so wait for that one, and I'll record it whenever I can. So anyway, again, Gothatfunk is the shout out this time. So this is a bad 5, and I'll see you guys next time.